Joshua Iguatu, and I am the host for the My Words Matter podcast. Welcome to another episode. Who am I gathered with today?
My name is Abayomi Isaac Adeleke. I'm a chemical engineering student at Tennessee Tech. Yeah.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I would start from, I'm from Nigeria. I'm from the...
I could tell a little bit. Once I heard the first and last name. So what tribe in Nigeria?
I'm Yoruba. I'm from the Southwest.
Yeah. There we go. So I'm Igbo.
Yeah.
My dad is from Onitsha.
Oh,
so
okay. Nice.
I could relate a little bit.
Yeah. I'm actually from Osun State. So I grew up in the Southwest. I went to college in the Southwest as well.
Okay.
And after my bachelor's and master's, I moved to the North Central, Abuja.
Okay.
Yeah. So I worked there for So I worked there for a little bit. I worked for like 2 years, and then I came here for my PhD.
Okay. So how was the process coming to Tennessee Tech for your PhD, especially coming from Nigeria? Like, how did the visa process work? Can you go through that?
All right. So let me start from how I found out about tech.
Okay.
So in 2015, thereabout, we had a seminar with my colleagues, my bachelors, right? And I think around a year after that, some had already traveled abroad for their masters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember one of the guys that was talking about going for his masters. I reached out to him right about 2016.
Okay.
And I asked him, hey, which school you and stuff like that. I had applied. I had admission, but I didn't get funded.
Okay.
And it was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him about it, and he told me, but it was a little bit too late. I already spent a lot of money applying to different places, but no funding. So I'm just going to go do masters. And then afterwards, maybe if I want to do a PhD, I'll reach out to you again.
Okay.
So when I was done, right about when I was going to be done with my masters, I reached back out to him like, hey, what's the name of that school again? And he told me tech. And I just started reaching out to the professors and Dr. Rice, Rice. She said, yeah, I'm going to work with you. And she brought me here. And for the visa. I really can't remember everything, but I know there are you have to pay some money for like DS-19 and CWIS or something like that. So after you pay for that, that's no guarantee that you're going to get a visa, right? But the main thing that, they want to see at the embassy is, do you have funding, right? So as soon as I was able to secure funding before I'm able to come here, so I got the funding and it was quite easy. I was asked a question or two. Right? What's the name of your school? What do you want to work with? And they saw on my, high 20 that I have full funding. And I'm like, hey, sure. And that was it. It was pretty easy for me.
Nice. That sounds like a pretty easy process. I know that process can vary from person to person and be extraordinarily difficult. Yeah. I definitely think school is one of the easiest ways to get a visa for sure.
Yeah. And also, if you don't have funding, the embassy, the visa guys are not going to believe they come into school. So funding is one of the key things. You have to get funded, and the name of your school has to be something not really, some schools are more popular than the others.
Yes.
So if your school is one secluded school that nobody really knows about, I'm not sure about this.
they lose faith a little bit.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah.
So what made you want to get your degree in the States compared to getting your PhD in Nigeria?
Again, like I said, I started with bachelor's, right?
Yes.
I had bachelor's, I went by the master's, and then I was working for a little bit, right? But then, honestly, I just didn't like what my options were.
Okay.
So I was working with this oil company. It's an oil servicing company. So they store and refuel jets.
Okay.
So I was an aviation engineer. I was, managing the technical team, kind of how we store these, how we filter, and how we deliver something technical, right? But I really just didn't like the sector. It's all about, my research has always been around pollution control.
Okay.
Right. And here I'm working on exactly what's causing the pollution that I've always, right. So I never really liked that, and in Nigeria, honestly, if you're a chemical engineer, I think one of your biggest options, like the most lucrative job you could get, is working in the oil industry.
Okay.
Right. The pay is really good.
Okay.
Right. And they employ a lot of chemical engineers. But if you don't like it, if you don't like to work in oil sector, your options are
You're out of luck.
really minimal. So that was one of the main things that really pushed me to wanting to do something different. And I started looking at what are my options again. I found fuel cells. And that was really big for me. I never knew anything about fuel cells. So, and it seems like Dr. Rice at then was honestly one of the very few chemical engineering professors who actually does that research.
Okay.
So I was like, it's either R or nothing else.
Okay, so does that mean you pretty much you first found somebody doing the research that you wanted to do rather than looking at the school itself?
Well, I looked for the school first.
School first, okay.
But then before I apply or decide I'm going to apply, I looked at what are the researches that they have in the department that really align with what I want to do. And I found someone who was doing exactly what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So it's more like luck and, just fortunate to find.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, just online, yeah.
Here we go. So how was your transition from Nigeria to tech? Like, how was that smooth? How'd you adapt? That's a big change.
Yes, it is. It is a big change, and I must tell you, it wasn't smooth. So I came in around, I think on the 20th of January, like 19th. I think it was 19th of January, 2020.
Okay.
And it snowed heavily the next day. All right.
That's
so the cold shock is a big deal. And before I came, I have families everywhere, right? My siblings are in the United States. Even before I came, my dad traveled a lot before and they were always telling me that, see, I know you have air conditioner at home and everything, but the cold is different. I'm like, nah, it's not gonna be that cold. You guys just exaggerate, right? So I came down at Nashville, and I knew I was underdressed. And there was no snow that day. And the next day, it was like, this is so cold.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first shock. Yeah, the cold. It's like a big deal. And I battled that for a while. And then I think everything else was just the food, the culture. Yeah, the food was really different. I'm not you have Nigerian food, right?
I
you know
understand.
the difference.
I understand the difference. I always say nothing can compare to Nigerian food, but that's always a little biased. But it definitely makes sense from just the way people act to the food to the environment. Yeah, all of that is different. And then I'd even say like where we're at for school is also different if you compare like Nashville to here. So that's also
it's really different.
What did you do for housing? How did that work?
Okay, so my friend, the same guy I was telling you about earlier, was still at Tech then. It was about graduating. So he picked me up at the airport and he took me to his place. So I stayed with him until he graduated and left. His color, yeah. So that was really convenient for me because I didn't have to look for accommodation. I just stayed with him. When he left, he transferred his lease into my name.
Nice.
And I lived there until 2022, mid of 2022, when I went for my co-op. When I came back, I found another accommodation on campus. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So tell me a little bit about your co-op. How did you end up landing that?
Co-op. I don't know if you know about Nesby.
Yes, of course I know about Nesby. I was at one point a part of Nesby, like very, very religiously almost.
Nesby, yeah. So, I mean, once you come in, like an African student, right? You have friends, you have community. And they'll tell you, you're a student, you have limitations, right? And you want to get a job that can sponsor your visa when you're done. And not any job will do that for you. The company must be big enough, right? I can't just apply to any company. They won't be able to do that. So where do you find these companies that are big enough to be able to sponsor you? Nesby. So Nesby Career Fair is one of our like area. Like you just want to go to Nesby,
Oh
you
yeah,
have to be at
I've
Nesby
been,
Career Fair.
I've been. I
Right?
definitely can attest to like the convention
Yeah,
itself is
yeah.
always held in like a decently big city, and there's like hundreds upon hundreds of companies, workshops. Just a great way to
It
network and
is.
get your.
Honestly, I don't know what I would do without Nesby. Especially, I mean, the platform they give
Mm-hmm.
to foreign students, because not only African students go to Nesby to get career started.
Mm-hmm.
Even people from Middle East, they always want to go because I mean Nesby is not gonna tell you, hey, you're not black, don't come. Nah,
Yeah.
you can come anyway. But, yeah, so for the co-op, I was at Nesby. It was kind of funny. I'll tell you the story. So the first day, I spoke with everybody. Nobody even sounded positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gave out almost all my CVs, and I had like what, maybe 40 CVs.
Okay.
So the last day, one of the recruiter told me to come back. The company is ASML. So I went back to that same place, and I was looking for the recruiter, right? And a guy came to me. I was like, hey, what do you want to do? I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for this guy. He told me to come, back at this time. He wanted to talk to me. He was like, he's busy right now. Do you want to talk to me? I was a little bit skeptical. Like, I really want to talk to him. Like, just talk to me. Give me your CV. What do you want? So I gave him my CV, told him what I was looking for. Like, okay, I'll talk to him, right? And then he left. 2 weeks after, I got an email. Hey, we need you to apply to this position, and we want to interview you. And guess what? See, the last guy that spoke to me and asked me, like, who do I want to talk to, was like a departmental manager, an hiring manager, right? And he gave me the job, the co-op, yeah. So I was really fortunate to meet him, and not the recruiter, actually.
Yes.
Because he was the one who was actually hiring the co-op.
That was a blessing in disguise right
there.
It
was, right, yeah. We were just two.
Nice. Okay, yeah. So
So
how was the experience?
The company is a great company. It's a semiconductor company.
Okay.
They make these lithography machines, and I think they make the biggest and the most advanced in the world, ASML. So when I got there, I mean, my background is chemical engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these guys is about optics and physics.
Yes.
So they give me some work to do that's borderline optics engineering and some electrostatics work.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I have some background in electrostatics due to my research, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to leverage the research, the modeling and stuff, and it was really nice. And I designed this optical measuring device.
Okay.
Really
there
nice.
we go. There we go. Got
cool.
your name put on something right
well,
there.
I did. I did it. They were talking about patenting the stuff, but I guess I think the other guys on the team weren't really, pushing it. So
okay. Happens. That's fair.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a great experience.
Yeah,
All you do is learn and grow and use it for other things, of course. So that's beautiful to hear. So you kind of mentioned it earlier. Community is always a big thing when you're trying to make it through college, no matter like where you're at. So how did you find your community? I think I have a pretty good idea in my head, but just so that like I can see like your process through finding your community and being able to stay connected.
Yeah. So when I came in 2020, of course I came in from a friend, so I know him already.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that I met a couple other Nigerian guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this association for African students,
ASU.
ASU. So ASU was a big deal. So ASU was where I first met, almost all my friends, right? ASU, and just a lot of African students from different backgrounds, and they know someone who knows someone, and that's it. That's how we started, forming our own little network, right? And then another thing was soccer, right?
Yeah.
I met a lot of people playing soccer as well. I mean, a lot of Americans, Asians, everybody. Right? So we have this big WhatsApp group for soccer. So we just organize and people come out. I think most of the people I've met on campus first will be through ASU, and then soccer, basically. And then a lot of people in my department and classes, yeah.
There you go. It sounds like you were able to like fit right in and find like your place. Do you feel like there were any struggles at all?
Oh well, I think there were a lot of struggles, honestly.
Okay.
At first, when you, so I came in from Nigeria, it's a different culture entirely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apart from the culture, academics is a little bit different.
It. I wouldn't even say a little bit. I think it's a decent amount different
Yeah,
because
it
people's
is.
mindset is completely different.
Yeah, and I struggle with that a little bit. There are some things that did when I first came in my academic endeavor that I would do now. I wouldn't do that now. But again, I think the struggle would be the the social fit. Having friends who are not from the same background as you can be a little bit challenging, right? You
Okay.
don't know what to say. You don't know what to get them, mad. And then, from Nigeria, we don't have a lot of these, should I say, racial and cultural. Yeah, so, we have different ethnicity. You're Igbo, right? I'm Yoruba.
Mm-hmm.
If you're both in Nigeria, that would almost never come up in our
Yes.
conversation, right?
Yes.
The only time it would come up is probably we just, having fun and making
Mm-hmm.
fun of each other, right?
Yeah.
But normally it would never come up.
Mm-hmm.
We just talk about something entirely different. But
Mm-hmm.
here, just something that comes up quite often, and I'm trying to like, okay, how do you navigate these? How do you know
Okay.
what to say and what not to say? Things like that. So those were some of the, should I say, cultural shock that I had when
Yeah.
I first came in. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what did you use to navigate through that? How did you figure out how to stay in like a good balance and know when to speak, when not to speak, and figure out what was expected and accepted of you?
Honestly, it was just a lot of questions and try and
Okay.
error sometimes. So I think after a while, okay, I was saying hello to a friend one day, and
Okay.
I was like thinking, it's a lady, and she's married,
Okay.
right? In Nigeria, if I do that, it's just, hey, what's up, right? Here, I found out that it's actually flirting, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when a friend brought that to my attention, like, hey, if you do this, that's what this means here. So I
Mm-hmm.
started asking questions. Like
Okay.
every single time, I was just asking, hey, what does this really mean? If I
Mm-hmm.
do this, what would that be interpreted as? So asking questions has been one of the easiest way for me to
Okay.
navigate things. I just ask, hey, in your community, what would this be appropriate thing to do, or should I not do this? Right. So I think that has kept me out of a lot of
A lot of
a
trouble, a
lot of
lot of
trouble.
haywire.
And I think I've learned a lot, even
Okay.
way more than my friends, because I ask those kind of questions. Hey,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think something that people struggle with is asking questions. A lot of us aren't extroverted or just willing to kind of put ourselves in like uncomfortable situations
yeah,
to figure out an answer. And honestly, asking a question is the best way. No matter how you look, you end up getting the answer you need, and from there, you're gonna figure out what you need to do next and how to carry yourself.
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
definitely the best thing that you could do.
yeah. I agree with you. It's really helped me. I mean, I especially there are a lot of stereotypes going around.
Yes.
So sometimes you say things that you think are not really harmful,
Mm-hmm.
but it is actually propagating the stereotypes, which
Mm-hmm.
you probably are not even aware of. It's a
Mm-hmm.
stereotype, right?
Yes.
So I mean, you're coming from Nigeria where these things don't even really come across your mind. Now things are actually getting, back
Mm-hmm.
on because of social media. But back
Yes.
4 or 5 years ago wasn't that big deal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think asking questions is one of the easiest way and the safest way to actually navigate the cultural differences. I'm sure of that.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, I was curious. I feel like everyone's situation is different. Do you feel like you ever felt unwelcome or discriminated against since you've been here?
Ah, well, actually, yeah.
Okay.
To be honest, I've actually felt that uh, since I've been here. So, you know, there is one thing that people are gonna judge you from your parents, even before they hear you speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that at some point I've been, definitely, I felt being discriminated against. Now, if you ask who person who did that, they might say, "Oh, it's just normal." But in my mind, I felt, wait, maybe if I had a different accent, maybe this wouldn't happen, right? Yeah. So, and trust me, it's as an African, not only did you get discriminated against based on the color of your skin, your accent also is something. Yeah.
That's very true. What's even more crazy is I've even felt the reverse of that, right? So I had a conversation with my parents before, so they would used to joke around as a kid. They're like, "Man, we need to leave you in Nigeria for a year and see how you'll change and you'll learn different things." And I would ask them, sometimes I'll play around, and I'll throw on a little accent. I have a bunch of Nigerian friends, so I understand how to almost code switch to a degree. And I asked them, "Do you think I would be able to pass and act like I was born?" And they were like, "No, anyone can pick you out in a second." I was like, that feels terrible. And even some of my friends that I've made that had at least lived their childhood in Nigeria, they tell me, yeah, it's just different, almost I'm I guess Americanized in a sense. So sometimes that's a little frustrating to hear because I'm trying to connect. They're to a degree they look at me a different way just because I was born and raised here compared to Nigeria. So I've also seen the inverse of that.
Yeah, that's definitely something I can relate with. I mean, I have friends who would say, or let me say, I know people who would say some things, and I'm like, I don't think you should just say this about this man just because he has a different accent, right? And it doesn't matter even if you have a last name yours, which is Nigerian. You can tell
instantly. You're like, okay,
yeah. So I agree with you. Yeah,
okay.
It goes both ways. You get discriminated against if you're an American. If you're not, you just see it everywhere. Yeah.
Do you have anything that you use to cope, or does it bother you at all, or do you just push it to the side? How do you handle it?
You see, honestly, it used to bother me.
Okay.
Even up until recently, I just found a way of ignoring it.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes, there was a day I was two of us went to talk to this guy.
Okay.
Right, and I'm black. The other man was Caucasian man, and the man we were talking to is white. Right, and I was the one who was trying to talk to him, but my friend was right there next to me. He looked past me and started talking to my friend, and I was a little bit confused. I was the one who was asking you this question. I think you should give me the answer. I'm not trying to
attention.
Engage.
Yeah, okay.
Right, but I was, I was able to just ignore it quickly because I felt, it's one of those things, right? I'm not from around here anyway. Maybe I sometimes rationalize it by saying maybe just couldn't understand my accent, right? But I might think deeper and say, hey, maybe he just doesn't want to talk to me because of how I look, right? But yeah, things like that do happen, and I think when we are able to cope with it, it's just by just ignoring it sometimes and just I don't want to read too deep
into it. Yeah,
into it sometimes.
I definitely understand. Something that sometimes frustrates me is when I hear someone say, "Oh, I can't understand them because of their accent." Yes, I definitely think I've grown around a lot of accents, so my ear is very adapted to being able to pick up on certain things. But then I also realize some people just put in minimal to zero effort, or they just don't like something that's different from them.
Yeah.
So then they go ahead and throw that label, throw that excuse, and I'm staring at it and I'm like, no, if you took 20 seconds or if you really cared, you'd be able to easily decipher what they're saying. Granted, I do think that there are times that I'm like, okay, that is a very thick accent. You have to strain a little bit harder to understand. But at the end of the day, they're still talking the same language you're talking, and so that definitely can get on my nerves sometimes when I have to hear people spam that as an excuse from time to time.
People don't even know me as my real first name. So my first name is Abayomi, right?
Yes, but what do you go by, I guess?
I go by Isaac.
Okay,
So if you
yeah,
go to my
okay.
department and you say you're looking for Abayomi, maybe few people would know that. But if you say Isaac, oh, they know exactly where he's
Who
going to
I
visit,
yeah.
right? And I, when I first came, I told a few people, hey, my name is Abayomi, or call me Yomi. Now, Abayomi is longer, right? But if I ask you to call me
You know
Yomi,
me,
I thought that would be easier.
like, and it should be. It's not that many syllables. It's not that hard to
Yeah,
pronounce.
but I kept repeating myself. I'm like, well, I'm not. Who has time to repeating themselves every single
Over and
time?
over again,
Like
yeah.
Isaac, guys, it's good for me, and that's my middle name, so it works for me perfectly. So, and also, you see, the accent of a thing, I changed the way I talk totally. I used to talk really fast. Now I talk super slow, like because I realize you could be talking to someone for like 5 minutes and they'll be like, but
They're not understanding anything you're saying. Yeah.
right? And I just don't understand how that is because honestly, it will be difficult for you to speak to me wherever your background is. If you're speaking English, I could definitely get an idea of what you're saying. But although when the table's turn and you're the one talking and they don't understand you, you really have to put a lot of effort
To making them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. Do you have, I guess, any advice for anyone that's in the same boat as like an international student, whether they're trying to get their undergrad, doctorate, masters, and they're trying to transition into the environment they're in and succeed? Do you have anything that you would suggest or say?
Um, I think if you're an international student, one thing should be your priority,
Okay.
your academics.
Yes.
I mean, I know a lot of international students who would come in and, oh, how can I make some money and send back home will be the first thing. If you're a student, that shouldn't be your priority, right? You want to do exactly what you're here for.
Okay.
Because there are rules. And unlike, I wouldn't say, the enforcement is a little bit different from where you're coming from and here. You might think, hey, nobody's going to know, you're going to get away with it. And you won't. I've had experiences of people who got mails from IRS, who got mails from like law enforcement. Like, hey, you did this until so date. So I would advise you, international students, the priority of primary assignment is school. Just do that. Second is don't go looking for trouble where trouble isn't really. I mean, you don't want to be the guy that's always speaking out discrimination in every situation that you are. You wouldn't enjoy anything, right? I mean, three guys might be talking and someone made a mistake, and you're already thinking, hey, maybe this is what you're talking about in discrimination. I don't think you want to be that guy as an international student, right? You just want to enjoy the moment, allow people to make mistakes, right? Don't be that uptight guy who's always, suspecting somebody for doing this. Because, I mean, everybody, no matter where you come from, there is one form of discrimination or another. Even in Nigeria, you and I, you're from different regions, right? And you probably know that there's a lot of back and forth going on between the regions, right? And that has always been like that. So you just want to be able to enjoy the moment, focus on your primary assignment, have fun, hang out with people. Don't also say they don't like me, I'm not gonna, associate with them. You're not gonna learn anything. One of the main reasons why you travel is for you to enjoy the culture, learn from the culture, right? No culture is 100% perfect. You can learn from the white man's culture, from the black man's culture, from the Asian culture. Just learn and enjoy and have peace. And don't be, hey, I don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way to go as an international student.
Okay. That's fair. To end it off, I guess, what do you have planned next after you finish getting your doctorate?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to finish as soon as possible because I'm tired of school. Well, I really want to get a position in the industry. I mean, that's the first thing, right? And then I'm looking at how I can give back to my community. Apart from my community here in the US, I'm really thinking about my community back home. I came from a place where not a lot of us are actually doing PhD right now. I'm talking about when I was little, right? Friends I actually grew up with. A lot of them are doing really well. Okay, I must admit to that. But not a lot of us are actually, thinking about how we can help build the generation behind us.
Yes.
And I think I'm in a position, I would be in a position someday to actually, help facilitate something like that. So I really think about how I can give back to my community back home, where I really, really started from. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I think that's about all the time we have. I really appreciate you hopping on. I hope some of the viewers are able to learn a little bit about our culture and understand what we go through to make it to where we're at today.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But with that, I think that's all the time that we have. This was the My Words Matter podcast, and this was your host, Joshua Iguatu, signing out. You have a good one.